We are only at the starting point, and I think it's going to move to more and more sector till everything that can get connected ends up being connected. It will never stop. But for the traditional tech companies, the platform business model that was bringing a lot of consumers mainly, has been really, the driver for digital technology adoption. But in traditional industry, what is going to be critical is data. So it's not going to be the user ecosystem, but it will be the data ecosystem.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Engatica's interview series. I'm your host, Anshdeep, and we're happy to have you join us today. And today we have Hervé Legenvre, research and education on supply chain, passionate about innovation, open technologies, data sharing, IoT, and AI on the show. Welcome, Hervé.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. So the Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the world, a platform that provides the latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that will help you grow your business. Come be a part of our community, learn, share, and grow with us. So, Hervé, how can we blend the academic and practitioner thinking to create unique learning experiences?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, a lot of time in my work is really dedicated to educate people. And I think there's been quite a lot of evolution over the past 10 years in the field of education. Before, education was very much about, providing some concept, a toolbox, getting people to do some exercise with them, maybe working on a case, and sometimes they would have a final project at the end. And now, this is changing quite radically, not just because of technology, but because we are in a world that's, requiring, to continuously adapt to the changes around us. So learning is becoming more social, which means that we need to make sure that participants to our training program don't just engage amongst themselves, but also engage with other people, that they get feedback, they get suggestions, they access information from other people. We need also education which is more prospective. So it's not about doing what people were able to do yesterday, but making sure people can work on doing something differently tomorrow. So working on their change plan, working on the transformation they're going through as part of an education program, which means that education is moving from just working on cases and theory to being more applied and directly related to the job of people. Another element that's really important is to orchestrate the mutual learning between participants from different companies who are coming to the single session. To give you a simple example of all of this, we have leadership sprint, where people are over 6 weeks changing something in their organization, in their approach of their relationship with their colleagues, in their development of their colleagues or plans or whatever they want as a mini project. 6 weeks, they gain feedback from others, they pilot the solutions, and then they all come back together and they share about the solutions they've implemented. So, rapid ways of learning, engaging others, and technology helps to, bring people at different point in time together in order to, have some good exchange on the topic.
Right, that's I'm sure. So can you talk about the methodologies to map the business ecosystems and create IoT and digital vision?
Yeah, I think very often we need to step back and we need to look, why we need that. Because very often what we do today when we want to leverage some digital technology is we look at what we have already in place, and we think, how can we try to automate what we've already got in place. So it's really important to build a vision, to be able to understand across an organization, across a business unit, across a company, what is it that we can indeed automate, but what is it that we can augment, bring new capabilities in terms of added value, and what is it that we can more radically innovate by doing something that's really different. So unless we've been able to, step back and understand how we can leverage the technology to deliver the best for the organization along this dimension, we shouldn't be running into starting, just simple automation project. So when we've done that, there's two other things we need to do. We need to have an understanding of what will be the technical architecture that will be supporting the digital transformation. It's really important to understand how future users of the solution we want to bring in are going to be interacting and accessing the information, leveraging, the data. And this is not something where we start from one project, but something we need to anticipate in terms of future development. And of course, we need an infrastructure that we should be able to scale. In order to make that a reality, it's really important also to understand what is the network of partners that will help an organization. If you are a big tech company, you have a lot vertically integrated, you do a lot on your own. But if you are in another sector that has been using more traditional IT capabilities, you really need to take the time to build a vision for your technical infrastructure, but also try to understand, who are the few key companies, whether they provide sensors, whether they provide cloud platforms, whether they provide some of the software that you will need to assemble in order to deliver the best project. I've seen a lot of, misselection of partners just, because this wasn't fit for purpose. So that's what I mean by understanding the ecosystem of partner that will support a vision, that can really make a difference for the business. And, there's some tools and ways of doing this, of course.
Right. So you seem to have a special interest for open technologies. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think this is something that's, when we've been looking into digital technologies, we've very much seen what's on top, the platforms, and after we've seen, the technologies that are supporting the infrastructure. I think what's really important to have in mind is that today, a lot of the digital technology are building on open source software, open hardware, open data. And this is a very different way of doing business compared to, having something that's proprietary all around. So why did this happen in the digital industry? Well, there's plenty of reasons, but, I think one of the historical reasons was that around the portable computer, this was the combination of Windows and the Intel x86 architecture, that were mutually supporting each other, but that created, a massive bottleneck for the industry that is still existing today. And so a lot of the digital company, they wanted to make sure that in order to scale their business, they wouldn't end up, being dependent on some companies, like it was the case with the laptop, the computers, and they wanted to move into the logic of open source in order to be able to have more freedom for scaling their business. So they started to embrace open source software, open hardware for data centers with the Open Compute project, for instance, and this was launched by Facebook. You can have access to all the equipment, the design of all the equipment for data center with open hardware license on the internet, for instance, if you go on the Open Computer project website. And this created a wealth of resources that were easy for other companies to leverage. So it didn't just help the big tech company, it also helped the startup. If you take a company like Instagram, when they were bought by Facebook, at that time, there were only something like 13 people working for Instagram. Why? Well, basically, they were leveraging an Amazon Web Service, cloud infrastructure, and they had built the rest of their technology using open source software.
Right. So, like, how can open technologies help companies gain business advantages?
So yeah, this is something I've been working with a couple of colleagues, Erko Thio from Imperial College in London, and also Ari-Pekka Amari for University in Lausanne. And we've been investigating through a research program a number of these evolution, but also how open technology is bringing opportunity for the business. Not simply to gain access to a shared resources that's much lower in terms of cost, but going beyond this. So of course today, if you want to attract developers, you need to be able to use open source because this is very attractive to them. The second one is the dependencies. You don't want to be dependent on a big player. And you want to be able to scale your business without being, handcuffed by someone having a locking situation with a supplier. The second one, the third one is also a battle of this ecosystem. It's a way of, creating and changing the industry architecture and the way companies are competing within certain fields. So we see that today for the semiconductors with the architecture, the battle between ARM and RISC-V. Companies got together because they didn't like the way of being dependent on the ARM architecture, but now they're scaling new solutions, leveraging the RISC-V, which is an open source, an open standard for hardware architecture. So this is one way. It's a different way of competing versus the old technology. Also, companies like Google, they wanted to scale and to rapidly make the whole technology related to AI available. So they've been releasing their technology, TensorFlow, for instance, under open source license. What did it do? It created a big momentum with plenty of organization, whether consulting, university, whether education, that started to leverage that technology that was freely accessible. And suddenly the rate of adoption of AI started to go at a super space. So you do this, you really put yourself to the center of the technological evolution. You keep in the driving seat, but you've got a complete ecosystem helping you and surrounding you. And then you can jump on specific markets in order to leverage the technology you've developed, your best knowledge of what you can do with it, because you're ahead of everyone, and be able to colonize some marketplaces, some markets in not in your traditional business, but next to it. And this is what Google is doing by trying to leverage artificial intelligence in their cloud solution. Of course, Amazon is also, understand all these tactics now, and they're pretty quick to also integrate AI on their solution. Same for Microsoft. But this is, a really interesting way, and this is going to move into other fields like automotive, for instance, where for the connected car, we start to see the software defined vehicle, where companies are coming together to develop a software stack that will be supporting the software-defined vehicle of the future. So it's not just about tech companies, but this is moving to other sectors, and this is becoming a new way of competing, a new way of protecting your long-term interest, a new way to create advantage in a certain market for some of the companies that want to go ahead while gaining some business advantage.
Right. So, what are your views on the future development of the digital field?
Well, I think, we are only at the starting point, and I think it's going to move to more and more sector. till everything that can get connected ends up being connected. It will never stop. But for the traditional tech companies, the platform business model that was bringing a lot of consumers mainly, has been really, the driver for digital technology adoption. But in traditional industry, what is going to be critical is data. So it's not going to be the user ecosystem, but it will be the data ecosystem. And today, one of the big evolution that we are starting to see happening, we'll see a lot of data sharing across industry because, putting a price on data, trying to make money out of data can work in some situations. But in order to tackle issues related to sustainability, decarbonation, related to resilience, all the risk that companies are facing, we will see more data sharing initiatives, and this will be, really driving digitalization in other sector.
Right. So are there any other soundbites you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh, I think that's already quite, a few things. So for me, I think I'll stop on this one that looks a little bit more about the future. And yeah, I think
That's great. So thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to access to exclusive content from thought leaders from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you with the new experts soon.